In today's video, you will learn ways to design a profit and loss statement that has multiple level of account grouping and includes subtotals such as gross profit, EBITDA, EBIT, EBT, and others based on your need. I will be using this format. You will be able to generate this format as well as able to customize as per your needs, such as you can have non-operating expenses or any other line item as per your need. So the format that you will build will be capable to give you the consolidated profit and loss statement across multiple entities and across various periods. Same thing, you can add any other entity which you need, break up by the entity level, can have one or more entity added and consolidated also at the same time. Slice the profit and loss by various periods for the last 3 months or last 4 months. One very unique perspective you will learn is to see any of the line item of the profit and loss statement across entity and period. So what I mean is, currently it is showing gross profit as 458 million. If I want to see the gross profit across entities and for the periods that I need, I can select any of the item. Example, the breakup of sales and marketing. So sales and marketing here 74 million across entities and the period. And lastly, what as an accountant we need is to drill down the accounts of how these figures have been arrived. So that's what we can see here. The cost of sales at 276 million. It has been broken into 3 categories, and further each category has their own account. So here my mapping is at a 2 level, from statement to financial category and financial category to account. So steps required to achieve this format are very simple. If you have no idea about PowerPivot or in Excel, you will still be able to generate all this functionality that I have shown here. Also, if you face any of the issue while designing your format, please feel free to connect with me. So let's begin the learning. I hope you are excited to learn this. This video is broken down into the 6 portions. The first part that I will pick is understanding the source data, how the data from the source system is available. You might have a different, if not, we can use the same format that I have used. Second is the profit and loss format. So once your data source has been created, we need to start mapping. Just like in the example, depreciation expenses mapped to the group depreciation and amortization, all the employee related expenses, overtime, support and cafeteria. In the profit and loss, it will go under one item as employee expense. So such kind of mapping we need to decide. Third step is bringing both the things together at one place, the mapping and the source data. So to do that, we will use the Power Query. Fourth is the most important step of all. We will be performing a calculation that will give the amount as per the decided format. Once the calculation is done, we will just drag and drop the format and the amount and slice and dice by various dimensions that we want, and do the color formatting, indenting, having a slicer and other informations. For the purpose of this video, I have created an analysis in the Oracle Transactional Business Intelligence. The link of this analysis is available in the YouTube video description. You can download the same. For our understanding, 2 prompts has been added to ensure that the user has flexibility to change in the Excel. So once you have downloaded it, unarchive on your system and then go to the Excel. I hope you have already installed the Smart View. If not, then there is a separate video to install the Smart View and establish the connection with the environment. Once that is done, you go to the Smart View panels and log into your environment, connect and go to the path where you have unarchived the analysis file that I have shared on the YouTube video description. Once this is done, go to the table and insert it. So if you recall, this were the parameters for ledger and period I have defaulted. So for fiscal period, I want 4 periods. So 4, 5, 6. Okay and okay. So all the fields have been displayed defaulted. As the first step, let's understand the data that we'll be using. Ledger name, it's an Oracle term. It means group of entities that shares the common structure. Currency is the currency in which the accounting are done. Accounting period, I have selected the 4 accounting periods for our analysis. Entity code is the name of the companies. In my case, there are more than 25 companies. Account type represent expense or revenue account. Description, account description are the actual accounts for which the accounting has been performed. Contractor expense, cost of goods sold, and period net activity is the amount incurred for a particular period for a particular account. Plus represent the debit balances and negative represent the credit balance. The most important thing that I would like to consider here is the financial category. This column represents the one level grouping of this account in the source system. The idea behind is that you will have many accounts and every now and then you may be creating a new accounts. We can map those accounts against the category in the source system, so we can avoid the mapping in this sheet. Having a financial category is a low maintenance on the Excel sheet. We will give this sheet name as the data. Now on to the next sheet, I will start making a mapping. I will map this financial category with my line item of the P&L. Let me put all the unique categories that I will have in my source system. Second is now what line item it should have against the format. So for that, I will be mapping like for sales, it is a sales. For cost of goods sold, it is cost of sales. Then direct labor, it will be line item in the profit and loss as the direct labor. All this will go as an operating expense. Then we will come as a gross profit. Now comes the display part, in which order this sequence should be displayed in the profit and loss statement. So first let's think of this group sequence. By default in the pivot table these are arranged in alphabetically, but I don't want this C come first, then D, then the last sales. So from my side the first sequence is the group sequence. Sales will be at the top, then followed by the cost of sales, then followed by the direct labor operating expense. So this is what the sequence. Remember that for each group item the sequence should remain same, so that we identify it is in the same part. I have kept some gaps in between if in the future if I want to enter a new line item between say operating expense and gross profit, there is a place holder for 32, 33. Same ways multiple gaps has been defined for understanding. Similarly, under each group cost of sales, how this particular category should be displayed. So for that also we can have a category sequence. So I can put a sequence for categories. Now comes the subtotal calculations that I need to have. For my reporting needs, there are 4 subtotals that I have used. That is gross profit, EBITDA, EBIT and EBT, and at the last overall it's a net profit. That is not required. You may have other items like non-operating expense or other part. So wherever the groups that contains the gross profit, I will mark it as a yes. So then comes earning before interest and tax and before depreciation. So I will include the items till this many part. Same goes for earning before interest and tax. So depreciation, yes. Amortization, yes. And so here it will end, and interest. So any of the categories which you have missed to unassigned, that will come at the end. So other income and this part, it is at the end. So yes, it should not be a part of gross profit, but it should be part of earning before interest and tax. Remember that categories could be in any sequence. For our display purpose, this column will play an important role. Now we can convert this data into the table. You can go press Ctrl T, or you can say insert table, whichever option. So I will say Ctrl T, and I will give the name as mapping. So remember, whatever name you are going to assign, that will be very much helpful in our next step, that is the transformation step. In this third step, I need to transform this data and join the first mapping table with the actual data. So first I will create a temporary table where I will store my all the calculations. So click on this data, and then we can say get data from table or range. So don't select this one, okay, only K1. So it's a null value, that's fine. I can just say this as a measure, and anything onto the column like a dummy and text as type as ABC. Remember to put close and load to as create connection only and add to this data model. Okay, so that's the first table I've created. It is important to create this first table as a measure. So by default, any calculation that I will create will go into this measure table. Second, I will take this table as the mapping. Again, go back to data from table and range. So here by default, the name has been taken up and 2 steps of change type has been added. So same, I need to check first, is this text, this is text, group sequence, and ABC as text. So all the columns are available. Now comes the third step of bringing the actual data. Let me again close in lot 2 connections. So as we discussed in the data source step, we can have either the data in the Excel sheet using the Smart addin, or we'll have a CSV. So let me show you if the data is coming from the CSV, how it will look like. So CSV, and then we select the source. So selected the source and say import. So by default, it will say CSV as comma transform. You can click on the transform step and full file name, or I can say first CSV data. So just check that some steps are already entered by the Excel. So first step was I have taken the file from a path where I have saved it. Second step, this column names are promoted to the header. And the third step, it is change all the data types. For accounting period, it's still a text. So I will keep that as a text, number, and period activity as a decimal. So this is one step. Or the second, if it is on the same sheet, what I need to do is I will create a blank query from other source and create a blank query and write as excel.current workbook. So please note this is a case sensitive. Here C and W needs to be capital and E also should be capital. So what it will give me is all the data that is on the current workbook available. What I need is a sheet name data. So second step, we can say filter that data name equals, or I may say contains data. As you can see, after the sheet name there is some numbers that we cannot identify what system will put up. So I will say that contains data, and other condition which is not here right now, but it is recommended that we put it down, that says does not contain filter database. So actually whenever you put any filters on any of the sheet, then one more content will be available over here which has the word as filter database. So we want to ensure that, because that also will have a word data, so one more rows will be available, so we don't want that. So I will put a condition as does not contain filter database. Now only one row has been selected. What we need is only this particular part. Next, column all. Okay, so we have expanded the content. Now I need to promote the first row as the header. So under the transform, use first row as header and just check the change type. This is a text, not a date. And this column name is also available. I can remove this column. Now as a second step, what I can do is here, as I've taken a data from the directly from the Oracle, some of these cells can have a merged data. So let me check if there anything that is a null value here. Okay, here is a null value. That means sometimes the cells get merged and it has the null value. So what I will do this to avoid that part, I'll select all the rows, and in case of merge cell, whatever is at the above row, fill that value. So other than amount, I have selected all columns, and now if I check, there is no null value. Remember this steps, what I have done up to this change type, it is same either you have in this query one or CSV data. So both are going to be same. So depending on the source which you are using, you can either continue the steps on this file or continue the steps on this file. Let me rename this as data. And here I will merge this data and mapping sheet using the categories. So go to home, merge query. I have the mapping table where this category column, this is a unique column. It will map with the data's financial category. We can see here all the rows are matched. 867 of 1040 rows, here it has been matched. So some of the values are not matching, that we'll see, maybe because I haven't mapped for those things. We'll click and say OK. So a table has been attached. One thing you need to ensure that for one category that should not be two values in this particular mapping table. So I will now expand it and not this column required. I don't need the first category column, but yes, I need group, sequence, the sub calculations, what is available, and we'll say OK. So you can see here some groups are missing and some mappings are not been done for some of the accounts. So for those accounts, I'll say group, wherever it is not matched, replace null values with unassigned. So values null, remember it's a case sensitive, it should be in small, and I will write as unassigned. And for group and category sequence, wherever it is a null value, I will come select together and say replace values with null with 99. Okay, so my transformation steps are completed. I will load only the first data, not the CSV data. So firstly, let me say close and load. I will remove this add to data model checkbox, and then I will load only the data file. After the transformation step, the data has been loaded to data model. To view the data and the data model, go to PowerPivot ribbon and under the manage. Here we can see the data that has been defaulted to the data dump. So this is data loaded from in the mapping table. Measure is a null table and the data is the actual data, and we have the columns that we have merged from the mapping table. So let's add the pivot table from this data model and see what are the challenges we are going to face. So onto the new worksheet. So firstly I will rename the sheet as pivot. Let's first try to build everything from the data table. Remember that the table in the data model will have the icon as the database. So we select first the group. So you can view here it has been defaulted into the alphabetically way. It's not as per the format that we require. So go back to the data model, and here the group column we want by this sequence. So go to sort by column as the group sequence, and the category we want by the category sequence. Sort by column, category sequence. Okay, so let's check the output. Now it is available sales, cost of sales, the sequence that we have given. To enter the amount measure, we want the period net activity amount sum to be shown over here. Here the credit balance are in the negative, so we would like to convert credit as the positive figure. So we'll go to PowerPivot and make a measure. Let me say as total amount. This is sum period net activity from the data table multiplied by -1. So it will reverse. Check the formula, it is valid. Option will be numbers, 2 decimal and with 1000 separator. So amount has been defaulted and the grand total is the net profit. Now here we do not have any subtotals like the gross profit, net EBITDA or earning before interest and tax. To achieve that, onto the data table we have added the column gross profit, earning before depreciation tax with the Y flag. So wherever it is Y, we will say this as the accounts that we will use for calculating the gross profit. So let's create separate measures for this gross profit and all the items. So I will quickly go through it. So first we'll create one for understanding. This is gross profit. Remember this name has been already there in the column, so it will not fill out. So I will put a word. So calculate, and we want the total amount, the measure I already created, and in that the filter condition is wherever the gross profit flag in the data table equals yes. So y needs to be double inverted comma, check formula, yes, okay, fine. So first three, that is my GP. Same way, copy the next all formulas. So I've created some more measures, and all these measures are created under the table name measure. And because this measure and data does not have relationship, you are seeing this warning message. To remove that warning message, I will just go and in the measure column, hide the column. Now this is hidden. Now you can see the measure table has been converted to the sigma. So all the measures are over here, and now that error message is also gone. So GP and all information subtotals are also available, but what we see is it is not in the sequence. Gross profit should be here after the operating expense. So calculations are right, but grouping is not available. So we can try out something like I can keep this value over here, but still you can see this, it is not in the same format. Other workarounds, total amount, total GP, but it does not serve our purpose. The formatting is not available. So that's where the mapping table, what we have updated into the data model, that will help us. So let me go back and insert again a data pivot table from the data model. Taking from the data, I will take the group from the mapping table. So here also sequence I have set. Now here you see this gross profit is available. So all this runtime calculations that we need is available in the mapping sheet. But I will have another problem. As soon as I will bring this total amount, all the rows have same value. The reason is there is no relationship of this group with the categories that are assigned. So entire amount has been linked to the all the value. So first let me try to achieve these subtotals wherever these figures gross profit and subtotals are available. Here the calculation should come from these measures. So to achieve that I will use a new measure, and function that will require is the switch. First item is the expression. For expression, I cannot directly say the group. So here some calculation needs to be there. So for me, I will enter just like min or max or any other value. So minimum of data group, that means minimum of sales name, it will be sales. For cost of sales, it will always cost of sales, the same value. So if this value equals what? Gross profit, then I need the measure as total gross profit. Okay, check formula. So here instead of null it is blank. So it was not required to be from the data but from the mapping table. So now we have the values for all the subtotals and the net profit is available here. So let me remove the grand total and this total column also. And what we need is to show all the values even if it is now values there. So here we have all the lines now available. So wherever these two values are same, return the value of total amount that should be as per this table. That's what we need to achieve. So in the else condition, I will say calculate this total amount where the group of data tables group is equal to the group of this sales. So here group is like minimum value. So let me change this blank instead of here. I'll say calculate total amount and I will say filter. The table is data table and the condition is the group of data table equal to the minimum of mapping group. A single value in order to return a single value. So calculate has been completed over here. Check formula where it has been incomplete. Okay, filter has been closed here. One more bracket to close. So all done. Let me say OK and formatting. So now we can check this calculation is repeating the same numbers and gross profit, just reconfirm the gross profit is here and adding few more items. So that is my earning before interest tax and depreciation, same validating the earning before tax and net profit. So we have achieved the toughest part of this entire activity. Now the formats are ready. You can delete this first table that is no longer required. And now we can perform all our formatting parts. Just like this, want to be having indented. So this was one of the way of doing formats. Another way we can do it from here, recommended rows. If it is very high, select any of the table that we want and then duplicate. So we have achieved the consolidated profit and loss statement. You can add the slicers, ledger name, entity and accounting period. Okay, 4 periods I'll be showing up here at the top. Only one ledger. And for entity, let me add here a value format. So one period only. Now this will get your filter data for all the entities, okay, in particular 1 month. So all the combinations we can try out. Now let's say first copy this table and make it a format, and we would like to see this by entity. So come back here, show field on the data, accounting entity onto the column. The one entity, refresh all. Now you can see all the entities are available. And by default, as I have copied pivot from here to the next one, both the slicers will be applicable to both the pivot tables. So now we have available like 3 entities, the breakup of sales and GP across 3 entities for all the periods. So let me rename this as entity. And now, as we discussed beginning, that we want to see by period wise, do a copy, give a name as period, and onto this pivot just change the accounting period instead of entity. So now you have a breakup by entity, so a breakup by periods are available. And third sheet that we were talking about was making an element wise. Create a copy, move to the end, and element. So here under the data, I will put the entity onto the row side, and this group, move it out from here, and from the mapping table you can say add to the slicer. So let me enter just the gross profit. Now here the grand totals are not available. I will enter the grand totals on for row and columns, so we can compare. So gross profit across entity and across periods, employee expense. So we don't want this things to get updated every now and then. Pivot table option, remove this auto width options. Fixed sales is the biggest number, 718 million, and breakup, or you like to see the any of the element for all entities. Comparative view for all the 4 months are available. And lastly, that we discussed, you would like to see this by account grouping. Again, make a copy, not from this, but from this sheet. Move to the end, create a copy, and here we want is account wise. Show field list. The group is fine. Now everything what I need is from the data table. So group, category, and the account description. So I will use my design format layout as compact, and by default you can say all collapse. Instead of PTD, I can select the total amount as the measure. You can see this breakup of sales 718.9, and by breakup it has only one financial category and 4 accounts. Cost of sales, it has 3 categories. Let me show the subtotal at the top. 3 categories. Under this one account only for raw material cost, again multiple accounts, all these accounts together create this amount. So now you also have the account drill downs. And for navigation across the sheets, you can go towards the shapes, create one shape and name it like entity, create just one icon for entity. Let me select this factory icon, small over here, make it as a white. And this shape, I can remove the outline. Control and click both the shapes and group it, and right click, say link, place in this document, and we'll go to the entity sheet on particular, say B8 sheet, giving a tip, view, entity wise profit. Okay, click and navigate it to the sheet. Same way you can design for all, and for making it look like more of a dashboards, we hide the heading and the grid lines from all the sheets. Now we see here that some of the things that we miss out to the unassigned. Now how we can fix it out? Let's say, what is the biggest challenge over here? Let's say this travel and entertainment expense. This needs to be fixed or add into the mapping table. So I will copy this, go to the mapping table and see, okay, in travel and enter I have entered a code. I will copy and paste. See, it goes into the office and admin 50. It is yes part of EBITDA and 3 columns. Done. Save. Let me come back here and I will save the data and refresh all. So once this refreshing activity completes, you can see here unassigned has been reduced here. It has been reduced, and office and admin, it goes travel and entertainment expense increased. So all the tables gets updated by a single refresh. So, and anything or any accounts that you feel that has not been properly mapped, we can map properly onto the mapping table and keep on refreshing. And once your proper categorization has been done, then we can ensure that yes, the data is as per the required need. As you have made this far by watching this video, I appreciate your dedication for the learning. If you find any challenges in developing report that have some variation as per your need, feel free to connect with me. It will be my pleasure to learn from you also. If you are looking forward to create a reusable and impactful result using Oracle Business Intelligence, Power BI, Excel or PowerPoint, subscribe to our channel. Again, thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day.